Hey, how you doing? So this is Neil from masterpaintingnow.com, one of the top art instructors on Udemy with over 70,000 students, and this is one of the students' drawings. Every now and again I'll pick a student that I feel like is on the right track, and then I'll make a video to show the critiques, right? Instead of just writing like I usually do. So this overall I think this is good. I think the line work is really nice. You can see it has really nice quality to the line work, nice and smooth. It's not like this. It's not like they're trying to do the chicken scratch thing. Looks really nice, so I like that about it. Overall, the anatomy is pretty good. There are some things that I want to go through, though, that could definitely make it better. For the size of the person, like the person is not very muscular, like they have a lot of definition, but they're not very bulky. This, how high you started the trapezius muscles is really high. So for this person, I would come down more like this because he's just, more lean and that would look better. Also, the way you've drawn this, I would just maybe let's go over here like this. Let's kind of just hint at this muscle just a little bit like this. And then maybe right here with the shadow be kind of shaped like that. Just kind of hint at it again. So just kind of, and then maybe you can like trail it up. And then like over here, you can have the shadow come like this. And then right here, remember, this is a round form. Make sure your shadows follow the forms that are there, right? So don't just come straight across because that's not a flat surface. It's a rounded surface, right? It's a cordial muscle, so you have to go like that. It's a chorded muscle, rather. And then come down here with the shadow. So like if you do the shadow like that, it'll show. Like whenever you have cross contour lines, like this is a cross contour line because it's crossing the shape. So shadows cross the shape or anything like overlapping lines, anything that crosses a contour, be sure to show the shape that it's crossing by doing that. All right, some other thing, some of the anatomy in the forearms and stuff is not right. So one, remember you have this kind of like, the bump could be here, and then usually the muscle, because you have the muscle from the back coming as well. Even if you can't see that because of the angle, you still want to show that kind of shape. So it's kind of more of a bump shape like this, and then it kind of, flattens out here, almost like a straight line. And then it will kind of come in like that, right? That's kind of like at least that's the shape I like to draw for deltoids. Just know that unless the person's, really just like slagging their shoulder down like this is going to come out more straight first. And then, kind of follow like, and remember this, to have at least that angle in there. Now, the deltoid doesn't go like this. That line's not going to be there. Remember the shape of the deltoid, where it attaches. It attaches to the forearm. There's like this little triangle kind of shape here because where the pectorals attach, and then they go underneath and attach to the arm like this and come down, right? The deltoid overlaps that, but it's going to come to that same point, right? So it's not going to, like you have the point coming way down here or something, like where they finally meet up. You don't have to draw this whole line, but just know that's the shape. That's where it's going to meet up. And then you can decide to only draw some of that line. So that's the line, right? Kind of like imagine that line, and then just kind of draw some of it, You don't have to draw all of it, so just draw some of it like that. Right? And then you can draw the pectoral muscle coming off like that. Right? So something like this. And if you want to add some other, lines like very light, you can kind of hint at it if they're really, really ripped or something. Also, I would just come out just a little bit here and then come in. Just kind of show us that tricep is there, because this person's pretty lean, and so their muscles, I think, would show. This line right here, just in case, I would kind of come with the shape like that. But just in case, just know that this line is part of this muscle here, right? The brachialis, right? And then the brachial radialis comes out here, right? Remember? And it comes and it connects all the way over to the thumb. So the bulky part of it is here, right? It's the bulky part of the muscle. And actually, it's probably going to be more like that. And it wraps over. Oh, I should be using a pencil instead of this ink pen. It wraps over like that and connects to the thumb side, right? Let me go ahead and get my pencil instead. This one. There we go. Right. I'm drawing on top of I thought I made a new layer to draw on top of, but I guess I didn't. I'll make a new layer now. Right. So Now, what you're drawing, I'm not exactly sure. I just want to make sure that you know that this is supposed to be there so you know what you're simplifying and what you're drawing. If I give you the benefit of the doubt, this line here is representing the fold because there would be a fold in this muscle. But I don't know why there's this gap here, because when there's a fold there, it doesn't extend it. It starts here, right? It's the overlapping of the forearm, and it would stop like that, right? You might have a couple little wrinkles like that because it's a fold of the skin, and the one form is in front of the other. So in this case, this forearm is in front of the bicep, so it creates this crease right here. But it would stop there. It wouldn't keep going all the way over. Oops. Anyway, just delete that line. It wouldn't keep going that far. And then just know that this muscle, I just want to show this in case you don't remember, or if you haven't gotten to this part of the course yet. This is for my anatomy course, by the way. Right? It comes like that. Now you're not necessarily going to see all that unless the person's super ripped. You're not going to see that whole muscle. Now the brachial radialis connects to another muscle, and both muscles kind of form one big shape usually. It's rare that you see a division between them, and this is called the ridge muscles. The other muscle that it connects to is it's the corpus something. Let's see here. Hold on. So you have the brachial radialis and you have the extensor carpi radialis longus. Sorry, it's not the core. That's the one right next to it, I think. Yeah, kind of next to it anyway. Yeah, so it's the extensor carpi radialis longus. Those two muscles together make the ridge muscle. The other one usually kind of comes down just a little bit farther, like it's kind of pulled them together. Be like the division might be somewhere like that, but just lump these together as one shape. And when you bend the arm like this, sometimes this shape, you can actually see the shape comes all the way down here like that. And that might be what you're drawing, but then you have a line coming off, but it would actually go up like this because remember it's going up to show that. So if you wanted to kind of show this, you know what I'm going to do is I'm going to, let me see if I still have this. See, this is another thing. So if you're going to upload your images, do me a favor and reduce them in size before uploading them, because this thing is huge. Just makes it easier. It also make it upload faster because it's smaller. Let's go like that. Let's go ahead and get rid of this one. Put this in front of it. There we go. Okay, so kind of zoom in a little bit here so you can see better. And now it's not matching up. That's fine though. So what you might end up seeing then is you might not be able to see it all the way up here coming down, but you'll see this crease right here. And it goes like this. And it might stop right there. That might be all you see, but you definitely see this like bump. You can do this yourself. Like just look at your forearm and bend your arm towards your heart, like stick your elbow out and lift it up, and then bend your fist and make your fist touch the middle of your chest, and you can naturally see that muscle will just naturally take that shape, without even trying to flex. Then you have that big elbow. See how far the elbow sticks out if you look at your own arm, and you can see where that crease wraps around, but then it cuts off and starts wrapping around upwards. Now there's another muscle. So what you might be doing is there's another muscle. So as this kind of comes up like that, right, then you have all these other muscles like the bullet shape. So if you were to kind of draw this coming up like that, then you have this whole other set of muscles here that are going to be like the bullet shape on the top of the forearm, and it has the different digits that come out. And there's a couple different muscles that breaks down into, and you can usually see a couple of them. But what you might be doing is just connecting this whole group, this whole group right here. And then it kind of has a crease in it like that because we're seeing overlapping. So the ridge muscles, you might be connecting that with the other muscles that come down. So the next muscle you might be able to see on the pinky side, I forget what the name of that muscle is. It's maybe the Extensor Carpi Ulnaris. And so when you bend the arm this way, there's the muscle that comes like this, right? And then there's this other muscle that almost kind of follows the bone, and it might go like that. You might be able to see some of that muscle. And so if you just get rid of all this detail, maybe this will connect to that. If so, make sure to draw it like this. Now, what I would personally do is I would kind of come like this, and I would kind of show that division right there, just barely show with the faint line. Show this division in the muscle as it comes up and over like that. Just kind of show that, maybe even show it up here a little bit, and then you can show this line coming off that a little bit if you want. Or if you just don't like that, I guess you can do this. So it's similar to what you have there. Just make sure this comes up because remember it connects up here, right? That's where it's connecting. And then right now it's being bulged out because of the angle, so it kind of creates this like curve like this. But it doesn't do that, right? And then if you want to show that any sort of line there, it's the overlapping wrinkle line that divides this muscle, right? So think about this being like a bulbous muscle, and now it's being divided like that. So now it's kind of taking this shape here, right? Think about it kind of like that, right? So you take this line and come here and show that overlapping of the forearm, and maybe show a little wrinkle of skin right there. So that would be how it would look. And then just know that what's happening here is there's a division of the arm. So you have the ulna muscle or the ulna bone, and it connects all the way from, remember, it goes from the elbow to the pinky. And that's one solid shape that you can extend through there. And it's a good shape to look for when you're drawing. And this right here is not what you want to do, because think about where the bone is, right? The bone is like here, right? You have like part of the bone here, you have part of the bone here, and these connect together. So I would do a straight line connecting these together, but it doesn't connect on the bottom usually. It's not where you usually see the tendon of the muscles in the bone and stuff. So instead, if you look at a lot of forearms, from this angle, what happens is you actually see up a little bit higher. And I wanted to show an example, but I don't know, maybe I can look on Google or something and try to find someone with their arm like that. But anyway, nonetheless, the bone is up here more, right? So you have this kind of bone like this, and then you have this maybe even up a little higher. But anyway, what you end up seeing is right here, this is where you usually see the little line or dent, like the little like tendon part, like that. And then take the elbow and make sure the elbow, keep the elbow nice like that, like a nice, it might even be bigger than that, depending on, I would draw it maybe even a little bit bigger than that, but that's the elbow. It's a nice right angle. And then connect that to this. Just imagine they're connecting. Just do a faint line, and then you draw part of the line here and part of the line there. And here you have, remember, you can always, depending on the angle of the wrist, you can always draw like that, like almost like a box. You can see the boxiness of the wrist. Now you don't have to draw those lines. Just know that I can create that box. I can see it. So then you can have a straight line here, that straight line, and you can have another straight line kind of coming off here, and that shows the boxiness of the wrist. And then these under muscles, these are a whole other group of muscles. So you have the main three groups of muscles. You have the ridge muscles that are here that go to the thumb. Then you have the upper muscles here that, has like a bullet shape, and that's like the pulls your fingers up. So it makes it to where if you're making a fist, it undoes your fist. Then you have the ones that are underneath, right? And the ones underneath make your fingers go into a fist. And usually the underneath muscles from this angle, they would kind of, it depends on how relaxed, this person's pretty relaxed, but you'll be able to see a kind of a bulge there, right? And so that would be kind of the shape that you'd want to go for. And you don't have to have that much detail if you don't want that much detail, but just know that this, sometimes it can kind of turn into that line. It depends on the person, but usually it goes up like this, and if anything, it helps turn into this muscle here, like that, and then that will come out like this, and then you can just kind of put all this in shadow, depending on where the angle of the light. But anyway, so like that. That's how I would do it. And if you don't want that many lines, then you don't have to draw that many lines. You can get rid of a lot of those lines, but I would at least have those lines there because that really shows the form. unless there's a lot of fat tissue. Even with a decent amount of fat tissue, you're gonna at least see this shape here with that line going over it. And you might not be able to see this detail too much. So this might just kind of all bulge in, and you might be able to see the wrist or might not. Anyway, so just making sure that you understand the anatomy there, and why you make the choices you make. Again, I would show the tricep a little bit here, and then kind of pull in like that. The fact that you can see this line shows the person's pretty ripped, because typically you don't see that. If anything, you might be able to see some of the bicep a little bit. So it's kind of a strange choice to show this and not show this, right? Which then shows the full shape of the brachialis. And the brachialis usually isn't that thick. Well, it can be pretty thick, actually. It depends on the person. This person's quite thin, though. So just remember, the bicep is like this, right? So if the bicep's like that, then we can have the brachialis be like that. Make it much thinner because the person's thinner. And just remember that kind of comes up like this. I would move it out a little bit. You have it turned quite a bit. So, well, this line right here is pretty much correct, but I would, come like that, like I said before. And then I would maybe have, if you have that line, I guess that's fine. Then we should probably bring the bicep like this though. And then you can have I would maybe just show a little bit of the bicep line there, kind of overlapping that muscle so you can kind of see. And then you'd have the brachial radialis comes out like that from behind there. But yeah, maybe something like that. Get rid of that. There we go. I just think that looks cool. You don't have to do that. You can actually have, this shape right here coming down like that, and then just kind of overlap the arm, the pec overlapping the bicep there. All right, so hopefully that makes sense. The same would be for the other side. And then also a thing to think about is like rhythm, right? So sometimes you want to even kind of go against the anatomical structure to kind of get the gesture. So here you have a line like this, and then you have a line like this almost. So it's almost like that, which is boring, right? When you have two lines like this, it's boring. You want to either have if you have two curves, you want them to be like this, so it kind of creates an S curve in between them, or you want to have them both going the same way, or you want to have a straight line on one side, right? So if you have a curve on one side, you want a straight on the opposite side, or you want to try to go like this. So you can kind of do that like I did over there by just showing the tricep more, because naturally there's this kind of rhythm in the arm. So if you have the bicep coming down like this, if you then kind of show the tricep and kind of really show that shape, you kind of have this asymmetry in the arm. And if you do the deltoids, you can also continue that asymmetry. And see, like here, you have two lines that are exactly the same on each side. Well, just remember that kind of symmetry doesn't exist in the body, right? So instead, think about where this is coming from. It comes from like about here. It comes in, right? So you kind of show this shape. We'll just kind of show part of it like that. And then remember, it kind of bolts up first, kind of have a little bit of a bulkiness here like that. Then it kind of flattens out, then it kind of comes in. So if you kind of show that shape more, and remember if you take the halfway point between here, it fits about halfway, which you have, right? So, and then we'll have the bicep coming in here like that. And then if you have the tricep coming like that creates a better shape. But another thing you can do is you can really straighten, instead of having this bulge, just kind of straighten it out more, have it more of a straight line. And then you can have this side, be more bulgy like that. And that kind of creates that, cool. Like, see how I did it here? I almost drew a straight line. Then I kind of bulge this out more like that. So it kind of has a curve on one side and straight on the other side, right? Let's see here. Typically there's a V shape in here, between the muscles like that, right? Like that. So, because you have the bone here, remember this is a collarbone. You have a full-on bone right here, collarbone. So the pec muscle sometimes will overcome that if they're really buff, but there's still a shape right here, like a V shape right here. Just remember that. And then coming down right here, you also have a V shape here. So I would change the shape of the pecs a little bit like that. It's rare that you can get that triangle to go away to get the pecs to come so close together. It just looks weird too. It looks better like this. I already talked about the triceps. Okay, lastly, I want to talk a little bit about the head. So remember, the head is going to come straight up from the jawline like this. Right, so let's draw the head straight from the jawline, and then now that should be about right, because now to the eyes, that should be about the halfway point, and it's pretty close. I would draw the eyes not so wide. It just looks strange. Maybe that's why you have to widen the head some. But that's how it should be. And then you might be able to see, like here you have the ear, you might be able to see some of the rest of the head like this, but it's gonna come up, as the hair here. If they're bald, I wouldn't worry about that. I wouldn't even draw that, right? I would just leave it like this. Don't draw these lines if they're bald. Just leave it. If they have a little bit of hair there, then you can kind of, shade that in as hair. And that's, going to look cooler. But I would just keep it like that. And then eyes, I would make sure they're, see, if you take the eye, even if you, like, the way you've drawn this line right here shows me that it probably actually comes down like this. And so your eyes are basically that close together. But even if I were to try to curve this instantly down, which isn't how an eye would shape, but I just want to try to instantly curve it down. Look how close the eyes are together. The eyes should be one eye length apart. And so that's why he looks weird, right? Because the eyes are not one eye length apart. So there should be an eye length apart. So we need the eyes to come, a lot further apart, like this far apart. But then that has to be the length of the eye. Then the eye should only come out to that far, right? It shouldn't go out farther than that. And then you should have about a half eye on each side to a full eye, just depending on the person. Typically, a half an eye looks the best. So if you keep that in mind and reshape it, then you can go like take this whole entire eye now. The eyebrows are different. The eyebrow is fine. I can take the eyebrow and redraw it to be bigger. The eyebrow wouldn't be this short, so the eyebrow can be the same. Actually, what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna take the eye itself, not the eyebrow. So it should be more like that. If you want it to be bigger, you can make it, longer. Anime often does that. Making my pin bigger here so I can fill this in faster. Oh, am I still on the brush? I'm still using my brush. Okay. Anyway. It's not quite the same color, but you get the idea. And so if you do that with both eyes, it'll look a lot better. I could have redrew them myself, but oh well. I decided to do it this way, so. Just trying to color some of that in so it kind of looks the same. And so that's going to look a lot better. And like I said, if you take the sides here, and we'll just kind of come straight up like that. So he's going to have a more better shaped head here. And then, like I said, if you want a little thin part here, you can kind of show just like, some hairline there. Sometimes I do that, but I come inside instead and I show it like that if I'm going to do it. Not too far, but like, your eyebrows are coming so far out, I don't have enough room to really work with here, but it's going to be like that. Just a little bit of hair. Say like it's, instead of bald, it's kind of buzzed, And then I would also, when dealing with men, I would take the line and come almost, like about to the lips, right? And then start to curve in, which is kind of like what you've done here, but the lips are so higher up I would come down just a little bit further. You'll get a feel for this angle, but just kind of bulk up the jawline maybe a little bit, like that. I think that looks better. Looks more like a man. I might have brought that down a little bit too far. I mean, now he's like really bulky, but you can see he looks more manly like that. You don't have to draw. You don't have to bring it down that far. You can do it less far. So let's go somewhere in between those two. I'm gonna try to take this exact color as well. Oh, you have a really light pencil. Something right about there. I'm gonna try to go over this as well because I can see it's like two different colors. Looks weird. Try to get it all the same. Something like that. Anyway. And then this one here also come more straight down like this. So I'm gonna kind of change the angle you have here. Let's come more straight down like that. And then let's start coming like this. I just want to come a little bit further down. There we go. Make that jaw come down a little bit further. So you don't have to like really, I'm just drawing the corner down a little bit, down a little bit further so it looks more manly. Overall, I don't know, I would just choose different kind of eyes and stuff to draw. And then like the mouth, I don't know, all this is just, I would just redraw the head altogether. But there's too much space, I think. So what I would do is I would draw where the eyes and everything is in relation to each other. That looks a little bit better. Yeah, so those are some of the things I would think about changing. The hand, the hands are hard, man. They take a while. This isn't too bad. I'm not gonna go too much into the hand. It's just it takes practice. Think about the boxiness of the hand and stuff like that. So let's see. Oh wait, that's the wrong one. There we go. So if you think about this, would be like that coming off. That's like and then you have the fat pad here. Think about the knuckle coming out, the tendon. There's a space here between that and that finger. I would kind of like show that. You can kind of show this like three-dimensionality here by maybe showing like some of the shadow, but also this kind of shows the front plane, like the top plane here. So think about the bulkiness here, that being like the top plane, and then this is going to flow right into the front like that, into a line. And then you think about the pads themselves individually. And so basically have the knuckles here, then you have that first division, which is almost the halfway point. So it'd be more like here, right? Because it's like almost halfway. Actually, it's about right. I think what you have there, right about there probably. About the halfway line between the knuckles and the tips of the fingers is that first division. There's another division, though, that happens almost halfway between that. A little bit less than half because it incrementally gets smaller. So you have that first pad, second pad, then you have the third pad. And so maybe the fingers need to be a little bit longer. And also the length of the fingers should be about the length of that part of the hand. But yeah, it takes some practice to get all that right. And I see you're lumping in the second segments together, but that first segment wouldn't be that long. The first fat pad actually isn't very long. So the first fat pad would only be like this long, right? And then you have the second pad and third pad. So even if you lump this top together, you're not showing the three segments. The bottom, you're going to still see the three segments, right? So you're still going to see the first segment, which is right about here, second segment, and then the third segment like that. And then you got to think about how the nails attach. Anyway, that'd be a whole other lesson. I'd have to go through a lot of stuff there. So yeah, that's some of the things I would do. I should have actually, taken that and erased what you had and kind of redrewn it in my own or in your color so you can kind of see it. But yeah. I think I have one more I wanted to look at here. Now I'll do this will be a lot shorter because I don't want this video to be too long. But you gave one more image for me to critique, so let's go and look at that really fast. I'll just kind of talk about it briefly. I can get rid of this one, get rid of that. Once again, huge image. So if you guys can, when you submit the image, just, reduce the size first. Just open up in a program and reduce the size. Go to image, resize, and choose like at the max 2000 pixels high. I would do only like 1500 pixels high. All right, so let's look at this one here. Here, I think for the style that you're going for with the face, it looks fine, and it kind of reminds me of like a samurai, something, that cartoon. I would still make the eyes not as long though. Like with this angle, it works a little bit better because you can shorten one eye quite a bit, but still he doesn't have an actual eye length between his eyes, so it looks a little bit strange. But I would just think about making the eye a little bit shorter. All right, let's go ahead and get into this one real fast. So, all right, so the first thing is so you have the neck, which is be more here. It's kind of being covered, but I'm just going to kind of show that, which would kind of come back and it would show the shoulder blade like here or so. So all that seems good. And then you have that neck muscle, the sternum muscle coming forward. Then you have some of the trapezius muscle, which actually comes all the way and connects to the collarbone. So the collarbone is like here, right? It's that trap. Yeah, it comes all the way forward and connects to, and it goes around in the back there. The deltoid connects from the collarbone, so, and the collarbone right about there, so that's about right. I'd kind of come more straight there. And then it comes, the deltoid continues to go all the way back into the back here. So I would kind of, come bigger with it. Then you have some other muscles that also usually connect there too, like the teres major and minor. But overall, I think this is fine. I would just kind of bulk out a little bit though and kind of change the shape like that. I'm drawing on top of it again. Damn it. Let's see here. So now I have to kind of draw with that color so it looks right. But I would, come out and more bulky with this. If you want to kind of hint at those other muscles, you can. This is all pretty good shapes, actually. I see it looks like you really kept the gesture there. But remember, when you're doing gesture, you have this happening. That's not a good gesture, right? When you have the same rhythm on both sides, it's not a good gesture. It doesn't read well. It's kind of like what Procol calls a snowman effect, where you have like this and you draw your arms like that and it just doesn't look good, So you want to either make a straight line out of one and the curve out of the other, or you want to kind of offset them so there's asymmetry. So what I would do is, one, I would come straight first with the bicep because that looks better. And it's typically how the bicep is anyway, especially from this angle, because the bicep like the deltoid is overlapping the bicep. The bicep actually continues like that a little bit. So it's just, make it a straight line because it's kind of overlapping it. And also because the arm's bent, it might even bulk out a bit. Actually, I can probably erase. Watch this. Make a new layer underneath, grab this color, and pow. So now I can just erase instead of having to, oops. Now I can just erase instead of having to try to color it. So we can kind of take this, bulk up just a little bit, and then come in like that. All right, so now we have a nice bulky side here. That looks cool. And then it kind of offsets this a little bit, but then we can come up higher with this bulkiness and then come in like that. So now there's asymmetry to the bending, and then kind of come down like that. So watch what happens here. We come like this, and then we kind of come like a straight line down like that. And that shape right there looks a little bit better. Come all the way down to the elbow. Make sure to kind of show this 90 degree shape for the elbow here. And then might be more like that. And that's going to come up to the muscle. You have muscles that overlap that bone, which you can show what you're kind of showing there. Remember that, just like we talked about before, you have, so let's see here. You're trying to, like the whole tricep is somewhere, I don't know, maybe a little bit lower than that. Somewhere in there like that. Sometimes it's cool to kind of show that line, just kind of hint at it even. And you can actually just have a little bit of shadow like that, just kind of show the, this right, so it comes down to the elbow. That's the ligament part or the tendon part, while the muscle attaches to. And then remember on the side here, you have the brachialis, right? That's coming right here, and it's really being squished, just like the other. Whenever the arm's bent like this, you have this muscle being squished, and then this line comes in, right, and kind of overlaps like that. You don't have to show all that, but that's what's happening. And then knowing that's what's happening, you can go, okay, cool. Let's kind of really show that bulb right there, and show that crease right there too. I would show that crease in there, like that. And then you might have other, different muscles now that are these top muscles. You might be able to see, that one there, maybe that one like that. Sometimes maybe this thin one off the edge, but I wouldn't show all that detail because you're not making him that detailed anyways. Right. I would maybe even bulk. No, I think the deltoid's fine like that. Maybe I did bulk his arm up a little bit too much. I think I was too zoomed in, so I wasn't looking at the whole shape. I would just stick with the shape. I would stick with that straight line actually, because he's not like flexing. Yeah, there we go. And then I'm just trying to, this would actually go more like this. But I'm trying to make it asymmetrical. See, if I have this curve here, I'm making this curve here. You don't want to have, if this curve is here and I have a curve here, then it's like opposite of each other. It's just like, then you don't want a curve on each side directly parallel to each other. You want to try to offset them. So if I have a curve here, like a straight like that, I want this one to be curved and straight like that, so it's offset. So yeah, now that's kind of offset. You can see like the angle right there. Remember to really, I like to really exaggerate the elbow, like really come here and exaggerate this line. Make sure that you can really see that. You can, cut off the edge there, but just kind of start with that first. Like when you first start drawing, just draw a nice 90-degree angle for the elbow. And then you can kind of cut the point off a little bit, like that. And I realize I think I have to make the background a little bit darker. And then I think that should be fine on the inside. I think that's pretty much all I wanted to comment on. Overall, I think you're doing a good job. There's some stuff you have to work on a little bit with anatomy, and you'll get better with that over time. One thing, I was kind of zoomed in too much, and I wasn't paying attention to this here. So you're going to have, the muscles coming, and then you have the bone come into the bone like this. And so just remember kind of that 90-degree angle there. We're going to kind of come, because when you have the arm in this angle, the point is going to be somewhere right about there. So just want to make sure I have that in there correctly. You might even be able to see kind of some of a division between this elbow with the skin there. And one more thing, actually, let's go ahead and fix this up just a little bit more. So this is going to come at it, almost like just kind of continue that curve like that, but then let's kind of create this elbow shape in here, right? And then it kind of, bulges out a little bit there more from the muscle. You could show, like if you saw more of this kind of deltoid over here and this kind of shape right here, it could show a little bit of this bulkiness of the, that's a little too much, but just kind of, you can even use straights. You don't have to use, all curves. So you can just have a slight straight right there, like that, just kind of emphasizing that a little bit. And then remember, the tricep from the inside of the arm, the tricep is huge. It's a much bigger muscle than the bicep. The bicep's much smaller, so it's more like this. And you won't necessarily see that curve. I mean, I had the pronator teres there, but you might just see the fat here just kind of squishing up like that. But you don't see much of the bicep. Remember, the tricep is taking a lot more space, especially from the inside here. This line, I would just get rid of. Really kind of show that there. And then this line is fine. You have that little kind of, that group kind of shape. Depending on how buff the person is, remember you have this muscle that kind of goes like this. And then you have the tricep. And you have another muscle that kind of comes off of that and kind of comes like down like this. And then you have another one right here, comes off like this, right? But you're not really going to see those unless the dude's like super, super ripped. It has to be flexing, but you might be able to see a little bit of that. Maybe that's what you were trying to hint at before. It'd be higher up, like about like that. I just would personally leave it out altogether. But if you want to kind of hint at it, remember it's kind of more like that though. All right, cool. I was looking to see if there's anything else I can think of. I think everything else is fine. Like I said, the eyes is the only thing I would just try to restructure your eyes. Just get a different. You can keep the kind of same shape, just make them shorter. Maybe make them a little bit taller, or if you want them thin like that, it's fine. And I think you're kind of trying to go for that like thin long effect, and I know some anime does that, but some anime looks really strange when they try to pull that off because the eyes are so close together. So I would just shorten them. You can still get a thin look, you know, by just make them short, and then you can make them a little bit thinner if you want to have that kind of more slitted, thin look to the eye. Actually, one other thing, like technically, when you're looking at the deltoids here, so they're actually going to be attaching. You're not going to be able to see that line really at all. They're actually going to be attaching, you know, right here. That's like where they're attaching. So then the deltoid actually has to come up, it has to stretch a lot to get in the back because it connects way back here somewhere because it has to connect to the spine of the scapula, which is kind of like here. Then it connects kind of like then there's ligaments coming off of the spine of the scapula, like a ligament like that, and then it connects right about there. So we have to show this kind of curvature coming in like this. So you can have a line like that and stopping there. And then that division, you might see a division of the muscle like something like about here. Now this muscle is big, and if you see any of the front part of it, it's going to go like this, and the front might be overlapped. You might be able to see a little bit of it right there. So you might be able to see this division between that front muscle. So this is remember, it's made of 3 parts, 1, 2. The third part we won't be able to see. It's in the front. So from this kind of angled back angle, we won't be able to see that. And then, see, now we have the room to make the tricep proper. That's why I think I was having issues trying to like figure out how can I get the tricep to work here. I was having to like rearrange the shape of the tricep because it's actually much taller. Now we get the proper asymmetry. This is much easier to do when you just draw it properly from the get-go than it is to try to figure it out afterwards. And then we can kind of have that shape right there a little bit. There we go. Something more like that. Now you have that asymmetry between, you know, the bulk here and the bulk there. We could take this whole line and kind of come down just a little bit more too, if you want to make them even buffer and just kind of give them a little more bulk. That looks nice as well. It's hard for me to draw like smooth from this far away. I gotta be, because how small my pencil is. So that's a little bit thicker lines. There we go, kind of like this. The line's already kind of messed up anyway. One of the things kind of just bother me about it is it kind of just looks rubbery like this. Like it just kind of looks like someone can't like just bend their arm in that way, that rubbery. Like the wrist would be more. But this elbow has to come, you know, meet up with the bone over here, because the bone is rigid. It doesn't bend, you know. So like that would be like the wrist. I mean, you might be able to see part of the hand, and you might be able to see some of the muscles coming off of that. But I don't know, maybe kind of hint at them like that. I don't know if I'd even show that one. Anyway, you get the idea. That looks more natural. Yeah. So, you know, there's a lot of things even I have to like sit and really think about. Now, if I'm drawing it, you know, I'm already kind of keeping these ideas in mind. But when I'm analyzing someone else's drawing, I have to really think about, you know, what looks off and why does it look off. And I have to kind of go through the process as if I'm drawing it from my imagination real quick, and then I can like spot stuff like that easier. But yeah, so and the clothing's kind of blocking it, but you know, we're having a slight, you know, there would be probably a slight 3/4 here where you'd see the spine come down like this, and you'd be able to see a little bit of this side with that deltoid, and then a little bit of the back there. So like the back would kind of come like this, and you'd be able to see a little bit of that side of the back as well. And when you have the clothing like that, though, kind of it blocks that view, but just make sure that you always sketch that in there anyways. It looks like you probably did. All right, cool. So I think that's pretty much it. Hopefully this helps drawing better, and you can learn from other people's mistakes. These are mistakes a lot of people make, and also it gives me a chance to talk about a lot of information, a lot of anatomy and stuff like that, and just a lot of information about how arms should look from these different angles. And so it's not just, you know, correction and critique. It also I get a chance to kind of teach about a little bit of a subject that I might not normally teach about, because I'm like, oh, wait a minute, I can let me talk about why I'm doing this, and that kind of gives you more information. So hey, if you enjoyed this at all, do me a favor, thumbs up and all that good stuff. All right, thanks.